Good morning, everyone. Today I'll be taking a class on organophosphorus poisoning, which is the commonest poisoning worldwide, especially in developing countries. And OP compound poisoning is one of the common emergency condition which need to be understood and treated to save the patient life. Organophosphate poisoning is due to organophosphates consumption. Organophosphates are used as either insecticides, medications, or nerve agents. Most commonly, it is because of suicidal attempt in farming areas of developing countries, and less commonly by the accidental ingestion or inhalation of OP compounds. Exposure to this OP compounds can occur in multiple ways, either by drinking or by inhalation of the vapors, and exposure to the skin, mucous membrane, or the conjunctiva. As I already told, OP compounds are the most common causes of poisoning worldwide. There are nearly 3 million poisoning which occur due to OP compound consumption every year. How does this OP compound act? Organophosphates, they inactivate the enzyme cholinesterase by reacting at the esterase sites, which leads to an increase in acetylcholine at the muscarinic receptors, nicotinic receptors, and in CNS, leading to toxic effects. So there are carbamates also in under OP compounds. This will inactivate the cholinesterase. Cholinesterase is an enzyme which degrades the acetylcholine. If cholinesterase is inhibited, the concentration of acetylcholine will increase in its respective action sites. The phosphorylated or the carbamated enzyme complex, once this OP compound, organophosphorus compound, will bind to the cholinesterase enzyme, they will form a complex. This subsequently undergoes the hydrolysis either spontaneously or through treatment. If it is a carbamated complex, it will take minutes to hours, whereas phosphorylated enzyme complexes will take some 60 minutes to several weeks. So, phosphates are more dangerous than the organochlorines or the carbamates. OP compounds, they can be absorbed through the skin, conjunctiva, oral mucosa, GI tract, respiratory tract by direct contact, ingestion, inhalation, and also IV injection. So there are multiple routes through which these OP compounds can enter a person's body. And the onset and severity of symptoms depend on the nature of the compound, amount of the compound which is ingested, and route of exposure. Whether it is a direct IV means definitely the amount as well as the entry into the blood is very within a few minutes the patient will develop the symptoms. So the route of exposure is very important, and also the rate of metabolic degradation of a particular compound. So it depends on the compound which the person has consumed. So here are the few examples of organophosphates. They include insecticides like malathion, parathion, diazinon, phenethion, dichlorvos, chlorpyrifos, ethion, Nerve gases are there: soman, serine, tabun. Ophthalmic agents: ecothiopate, isofluorophate, antihelmintics, trichlorphon, herbicides like tribufos, murphos. So these are the few examples of organophosphorus compounds. The signs and symptoms: whenever there is acetylcholine is getting increased, or the action of acetylcholine is increased at the muscarinic receptors, what are the symptoms? There are different symptoms which occur due to muscarinic effect and nicotinic effect. So muscarinic symptoms are excessive secretions. That is what we have to remember in a form of mnemonic like sludge. That is excessive salivation, excessive lacrimation, excessive urination, excessive defecation, and GI cramping. E is emesis, that is excessive vomiting. Nicotinic symptoms are muscle cramps, tachycardia, patient will develop muscle weakness, twitching of the muscles, and fasciculations of the muscle, which is responsible for the patient going in for respiratory failure. So these are the nicotinic effects where the patient will develop the respiratory failure. How are we going to diagnose when the patient comes to us in the emergency department? If the patient or the patient attenders are giving the history of exposure to OP compound, then if there are clinical features which are suggestive of OP compound, then we are going to diagnose or treat empirically. Or once the diagnosis is confirmed, if the patient attenders are showing the insecticide bottle, you can see the name of the compound, and along with that they would have written the antidote as well for the treatment of patient in case of accidental poisoning. So if you see those containers of the OP compound, then your diagnosis will be confirmed. You can start the treatment with the specific antidote. So if if the patient attenders or the patient has not brought the compound, or they don't know the compound which the patient has consumed, you are not able to find out, then you have to confirm your diagnosis either by specific clinical features. I told you that there will be excessive secretions will be there, patient will be going in for respiratory failure, fasciculations will be there, vomiting, then meiosis, bradycardia. That time you are going to start the treatment as if the patient is having OP compound consumption, poisoning is there. Other than that, but you have to confirm the diagnosis also, that is by the measurement of the cholinesterase, that is in the serum and in the RBC. You are going to check the cholinesterase level, and then you have to confirm your diagnosis. The normal serum cholinesterase or the RBC cholinesterase level is 8 to 20 units per liter. 8 to 20 units per liter. That is the normal serum acetylcholinesterase or RBC cholinesterase level. Once you are suspecting or you have confirmed the diagnosis of OP compound consumption, it's a medical emergency. So medical emergency need to be treated with the decontamination. Because the OP compound, if it is spilled on the clothes or on the skin, if the patient has spilled the OP compound, then there are high chances that from the skin as well as from the clothes, when it comes in contact with the mucous membrane or the skin, the absorption of OP compound will occur through the skin also. So you need to be careful. So you need to decontaminate the patient. All his clothing need to be removed. Any hair accessories need to be removed. And person should be washed with soap and copious amount of water. Then ocular decontamination need to be given attention. That also by washing the eyes with water or the normal saline. So if the patient is incontinent, that is patient is having repeated loose stools and vomiting, they require repeated washes. And attention should never be diverted from the ABC of the cardiopulmonary resuscitation. And if the patient is having convulsions or the seizures, they need to be controlled by appropriate measures. Other important thing is the gastric decontamination. Gastric decontamination is nothing but the gastric lavage. It is indicated once the patient is stabilized, is calm enough to give the consent, as well as in a patient who is unconscious and intubated. Gastric lavage is recommended to be repeated every repeated after 2 to 3 hours. Though they tell that it should be carried out within 1 to 2 hours of ingestion of OP compound or the carbamate. Even after 12 hours of ingestion, it is better to give the gastric lavage, and it need to be repeated at the interval of 4 hours. What does it do? Repeated stomach wash. Why are we doing repeated stomach wash? Once if it is done, it is enough. No, it is not like that. Why? Because repeated stomach wash will remove the residual poison if there is any, or if it gets secreted to the stomach subsequently from the fat stools. Because it is OP compounds are fat soluble, they go and get deposited or stored in the fat, and they subsequently get released into the bloodstream and into the through the mucous membrane into the viscous like the stomach, intestine and all. That is why repeated stomach wash is required once in every 4 hours. That will definitely is going to help the patient. After aspirating the contents of the stomach through the stomach tube or the Ryle's tube, whichever we would have inserted, so water or normal saline in lots of 300 ml be given and to be aspirated. This aspiration should be continued till what time? It should be continued till the returning fluid is colorless and odorless. And also we need to ensure that there is no fluid that is left inside the stomach by measuring the fluid taken off. Whatever we are giving, means infusing for stomach wash, everything need to be taken off. Then activated charcoal. Is there any role of activated charcoal? There is no evidence that either a single dose or multiple dose regimen of activated charcoal will result in any benefit. At a dose of charcoal 50 grams, it can be given so that the whatever OP compound is not absorbed get adsorbed to the charcoal. Patient need to be transferred to ICU. This is grading the severity of the organophosphate poisoning. It can be graded into mild, moderate and severe. Mild, patient is walking and talking. He complains of headache, dizziness, nausea, vomiting is there, abdominal pain, that is cramps, sweating, salivation, rhinorrhea, and serum cholinesterase levels, enzyme levels will be between 1.6 to 4 units per liter. Moderate, patient cannot walk. He is having soft voice. muscle twitching and fasciculations are present. Patient is having anxiety, restlessness, meiosis, that is small pupils, and serum acetylcholinesterase enzyme levels between zero point 0.8 to 2 units per liter. So it is decreasing. Severe, patient is unconscious, no pupillary reflex, muscle twitching, flaccid paralysis, increased bronchial secretions, dyspnea, crackles, wheeze. Possibly patient might also have convulsions. Patient will be in respiratory failure. That time the serum cholinesterase levels will be less than 0.8 units per liter. This is how, depending upon the signs and symptoms as well as the levels of serum acetylcholinesterase, we are grading the severity of organophosphate poisoning. 2 IV lines should be secured, and blood samples which are required for hematological and biochemical investigations. Also the cholinesterase levels need to be estimated. For that we need to collect the blood, ECG to be recorded. If the patient is having labored breathing, sweating, pinpoint pupil, then definitely it would suggest the OP compound poisoning. And already I told you, attention should not be diverted from the ABC of cardiopulmonary resuscitation. What is the antidote of OP compound poisoning? All of you know that it is the atropine. Atropine is the life-saving antidote, and it need to be started along with decontamination. You should not delay in giving the antidote. Once the diagnosis is confirmed, one person need to be decontaminating the patient or giving the gastric lavage, and the other person need to be securing the IV lines and starting the antidote. There are around 38 protocols prescribed in the literature for the doses of atropine to be given in a person of OP compound poisoning. The most accepted protocol is that the starting dose of 1 to 2 milligram of atropine, followed by bolus doses every 5 minutes with double of the previous dose in case of no response to achieve the target response which is recommended. So, initial dose of the atropine to start with is 1 to 2 milligram. Then it need to be followed by bolus doses, similar doses, or double the doses of whatever you have given the first dose. For example, you have given 1 milligram in the first dose. Then after 5 minutes, you need to check for the response which is recommended. If the patient has not achieved that response, you need to double the dose of the initial dose. That is, you need to give 2 milligram of atropine. If you have given 2 milligram, then double it to 4 milligram. Atropine infusion at the rate of 10 to 20% of the total atropine is required to load the patient per hour for 24 to 48 hours should be given. That means once the required response patient has achieved, you need to maintain that response by giving the atropine infusion. The infusion requirement is 10 to 20% of the total atropine which was required to load the patient or achieve the target response per hour. That infusion to be given for 24 to 48 hours. Then it gradually withdrawn over next to 3 to 5 days. What is the target response? It is the dryness of the bronchial secretions and also the maintenance of blood pressure. That is given more importance. That is the target which you are seeing in a patient for atropinization, not the pupil size or the heart rate. Usually we observe the heart rate, but that is not the target response. Target response is that the dryness of the bronchial secretions. While observing the effects of atropine, you need to give the 500 to 1000 ml of normal saline over 20 to 30 minutes to be given. That is to compensate for the fluid loss due to sweating, diarrhea, and also the cholinergic hypersecretion. In case of clinical presentation where the OP compound consumption is not clear, then that time you can just give injection atropine 0.6 to 1 milligram. 0.6 will come in 1 ampule, that is 1 ml of atropine to be given, and look for any increase in the heart rate by more than 20 to 25 beats per minute, and flushing. It suggests that the patient does not have any significant cholinergic poisoning, and further observation is required. This is used just to check whether the patient has consumed the OP compound or not. You are in a doubt. That time you can just give 1 ml of atropine and look for the increase in the heart rate. If there is an increase in heart rate of 20 to 25 from the baseline and also the flushing, then that means that there is no significant cholinergic poisoning at present, because as I told you, OP compounds are lipid soluble, they can be stored in the fat and subsequently get released into the blood. Patient need to be monitored further. As for history of alcohol consumption, most of the time patients will mix the OP compounds in alcohol before taking that. Alcohol consumption history is important. Atropine toxicity. Whenever we are giving atropine in such high doses to a patient, there are chances that patient will go in for atropine toxicity. Like patient will have confusion, agitation, hyperthermia, ileus, tachycardia. This would suggest over-atropinization, and that time we need to discontinue the atropine infusion followed by subsequent observation. Then again, after these atropinization symptoms subside, the dose can be reduced to 70 to 80% of the previous infusion rate, and then you can restart the atropine infusion. And hyperthermia, it is a serious complication in wards which are not air conditioned. Very important to cool the patient during that time. Patient will be having fever, so active cooling and sedation will be required. You can give the paracetamol infusions. And agitated patient, they need to be sedated with injection diazepam, like 10 milligram IV slowly, which can be repeated up to 30 to 40 milligram per 24 hours. This diazepam will help in allaying the anxiety as well as in facilitating gastric lavage, also in controlling seizures and reducing the CNS damage. Glycopyrrolate, it is the recommended as adjunct to atropine to control the secretions. It is equally effective as atropine with fewer central nervous system side effect because it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier, and there is a better control of secretions. Then there are what is the dose of this glycopyrrolate? There are ampules which are containing 7.5 milligram of glycopyrrolate. It need to be given in the infusion form of with along with 200 ml of NS can be given. After glycopyrrolate, there are one more important therapy for organophosphorus poisoning. Those are cholinesterase activators. They are also known as oximes, pralidoxime, obidoxime. It is given WHO has recommended 30 milligram per kg loading dose over 10 to 20 minutes, followed by a continuous infusion of 8 to 10 milligram per kg per hour until the clinical recovery or 7 days have elapsed, whichever is later. It need to be given for 7 days. Then the last resort of treatment for OP compound poisoning, if the patient is in respiratory failure, then it is mechanical ventilation, which is the most useful advance. When to suspect that the patient might require mechanical ventilation? If the patient has following symptoms: if there is a history of intake of large doses of OP compound and copious amount of secretions present, disturbed level of consciousness is there, and signs of hypoventilation, or if there is a respiratory obstruction by secretion, this suggests that the patient might require mechanical ventilation. There need to be a regular and close observation in the initial course, which will guide us to ventilate the patient. One thing we need to remember in mechanical ventilation is that succinylcholine need to be avoided, because again it depresses the respiratory center, and non-depolarizing neuromuscular blocking agents which require higher doses to show effect. Succinylcholine need to be avoided during mechanical ventilation. Other supporting treatments are broad spectrum antibiotics need to be started, as there are so many interventions we will be doing to the patient. We will be intubating the patient, catheterizing the patient, nasogastric tube will be inserted, 2 IV lines will be present, more chances of getting nosocomial infections. To avoid that, the patient need to be started on broad spectrum antibiotics. Then already I told you the convulsions need to be treated with the diazepam, dose also told. Then if there is a hydrocarbon aspiration, so aspiration of OP compound will cause chemical pneumonitis, and it need to be managed as a case of acute respiratory distress syndrome. In last class I took a class on ARDS, how to identify as well as how to treat the patients with ARDS, and one of the cause for ARDS was toxic inhalation, if you remember. So this is OP compound inhalation is a cause for ARDS. Treat accordingly. Injected OP compound poisoning, the effects of OP compound poisoning in such cases will be very severe, and they require higher doses of antidotes, and local tissue necrosis might occur because of injection into the IV line, that might require surgical intervention. And all oil based OP need to be removed to avoid systemic absorption. There are certain drugs which need to be contraindicated in a patient with OP compound, like morphine, succinylcholine, theophylline, phenothiazine and reserpine. These are the contraindicated drugs. See, medical management of OP compound pesticide poisoning, it requires close observation, timely institution of antidote in adequate doses and duration, and also good supportive care. This was about the OP compound consumption, identification or poisoning identification and treatment, which is very, very important. In the medical emergency, if poisoning cases are coming, then almost it will be 6 out of 10 cases will be because of OP compound poisoning. It is so common. Everybody should know how to treat, how to identify the patient with OP compound poisoning, and what is the antidote, which is very important, atropine, dose of atropine, then cholinesterase reactivator, oximes, that is pralidoxime, glycopyrrolate, and ultimately the mechanical ventilation, very important. Thank you.